Yeah, still I can't access. Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah. So what I will do, the first thing, I'll create one link. Okay, not today. We'll do it from Monday. Okay. Yeah. So yesterday we started discussing about dynamic object creation. Right. So we thought to start about Spring Core module having containers plus other features. Containers are something like your Tomcat, JBoss servers, right? They will help you to run servlet applications or EJB applications. Similar way here, our Spring container will help you to run your Spring code. To run your Spring code, you need Spring containers. So your Spring containers or the servlet containers like Tomcat, they all will follow the dynamic approach to create objects of your classes so that it will be easy for you to do modifications or upgradations or fixing the issues by removing old classes. You can add new classes, anything you can do because you are following dynamic approach rather than the static approach. So class dot for name they use. So we also understand how to create object by using class dot for name, right? So using class dot for name, if you want to create any class object, just you need to pass that class name fully qualified path here into class dot for name, and you should call new instance so that it will create object dynamically. So earlier we used to use hard-coded approach. Let's say a user wants to consume a phone. Let's say now he's consuming Samsung phone. If he hard-coded it by using new keyword, if he create it, he should continue with that Samsung phone. Right? He cannot change this phone whenever he want. He wanted to change phone. There is a lot of changes need to be done. He need to change the code. He need to recompile, redeploy. So many things he need to do. Dynamically, if you want to shift either from Samsung to iPhone or iPhone to Samsung, if you want to dynamically switch from one phone to other phone, or in future one more new model comes into the market, if you want to consume that phone, he need to edit his class and do the object creation of that so and so phone class. So this is the static way approach. So without doing modifications here, you can able to consume any phone object dynamically here if you go with this dynamic approach. So all framework providers are, or all server providers are following the same approach. They don't ask you to create object by using new keyword. Even if you see servlets code, right? We never use any new keyword to create the servlet object. Servlet object will be created by Tomcat container. Same way in Spring also, we do create objects by using IOC container. We just configure our classes into XML file and we load it into IOC. Then immediately it will start creating objects for your class. Okay, so we understand the approach, how core containers are going to create objects. They are going to create objects in this fashion. So how many such containers we have? How many such containers we have? So here we have two containers. Okay, we need to talk more about Spring containers. Spring core module is having containers, IOC containers. So how many we have here is multiple we have. Okay, multiple we have. In general, we use in real time In real time, what we use is, in real time, we use web application context. This is the real-time container that we use, web application context, WAC, you can call it. Web application context is the container, real container that we use in real-time coding, right? In real-time project development, we use this web application context. Web application context, okay? Particularly this container, you need not to start. Particularly this container, you need not to start. This container is configured in a servlet. We name it dispatcher servlet. Actually, this is a predefined class, dispatcher servlet, predefined class from Spring. This dispatcher servlet class is starting this container, web application context container. Then finally, it is a servlet. Who will start the servlet? Tomcat will start. Tomcat will start your dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet will start your web application context. Why we need to use Tomcat for Spring applications? I was saying Spring also is having container. Do we need to use another container here? Of course. If you want to do web application development for only one single class, we need Tomcat help. We have this class. For only this class, we need Tomcat help. Only for this class. Generally, when you say application means you have lot of classes. Let's say student management system only. If you are implementing student management system, here you will create a lot of views, login page, registration page, student create page, like that, right? So view page, create page, maybe update page. Like this, you may have multiple views. Again, for each view, front end side, right? If you follow MVC pattern, you know, right? All as per MVC, we will have view layer separately and backend layer separately. Okay, this is completely view part. So backend side, we need to implement few classes here. So you will be going to implement again for each view, right? One controller class. Controller class job is it will read your data. When you submit data from view, right? It will first connect with the controller. Controller will read data and it will validate which is coming from your view. So post this read and validate, controller will send it to a service class. Generally, when you implement application in Spring or any other framework, we will implement this many classes. Service. We will implement a service class. Service class main purpose is here we will write business code. Business code we will write. And finally, once the business operations are also done, right, we share the same data to DO class. Finally, I have performed all my business operations. I need to save the data. To save the data, we use DAO class. Data access object, DAOs. DAO will help you to do CRUD operations. Save, update, delete into database. Finally, it connects with your database table and it will do CRUD operations. So here it will connect with your DB. So when you implement a Spring-based application, right? For each view, we will implement separate controller class, separate service class, and a DO class also. So this many classes we implement for each view. Who will create objects of all these classes? As I said, dynamic approach only. Any framework will use. Spring also will use dynamic approach only. So here you have 1, 2, 3. 3 classes for each view we have. All around 9 classes we have. All these 9 classes objects will created by IOC container. Your IOC container only will create objects for these 9 classes. Which is your IOC container? Web application context. But somebody should trigger this web application context. Who will do that? Your dispatcher servlet. So the dispatcher servlet is the only one single servlet is started by Tomcat container. Do you need to write that class? No, it is a predefined class. We configure that predefined class here. Between your views and all your controllers, we configure dispatcher servlet here. All your request and response exchange through dispatcher servlet only. Dispatcher servlet will be there in between all your classes and views. So only this class object will be created by your Tomcat container. Tomcat will call dispatcher servlet and it will create object. And dispatcher servlet will call web application context, WAC. Then this web application context will create all your 9 objects. Okay, this is the real-time container. We will see more about this in MVC section, okay? While doing MVC coding, views and all the complete, right, code. Views, controller service, DAO, we will talk about it. For now, anyway, we are not going to use any Tomcat server now. For now, we are not using. Through main method only, we will practice it first. Through main method to practice it, we will start with very basic containers. Okay. The container names are bean factory. Just for practice sake only, right? These classes. Via main method, we practice. Otherwise, we generally not use them. Bean factory and one more is application context. We have 2 containers. Bean factory, application context. 2 flavors, okay? Generally, if you ask me, are we going to use them directly? Nowhere. We will not use them. Directly, we will not use them. We will use web application context only. But in interviews, many people will ask, what is bean factory? What is application context? And if you want to build any standalone applications, then these containers will help you. Okay, so here we call bean factory is core container. We can call it as core container. We can call as core container. And we call application context as advanced container. Core container and advanced container. And here bean factory will do lazy object creation. Lazy object creation. And application context will create objects eagerly. Early object creation. It will do eager object creation or early object creation. And only first time it will create object. On first request, it will create objects. On first request only, it will create objects for your classes. For whom it will create object? On first request of user, it will create objects for your classes. Whereas application context will create objects while loading only. While loading, XML file, it will create objects for your classes. It will create all objects for your classes while loading. Okay, so by default, it will create singleton object. Only one object only it will create for your class. By default, objects are singleton. By default, your objects are singleton objects. But here also singleton. By default, objects are singleton in both the cases. In both cases, your objects are singleton only. Means only one object only it will create. Okay. So this is the real-time container which we have right side, right? This is the real-time container. And this is the lazy container. We never use. We use application context only. We call it as core container and we call it as J2EE container. Okay. You can name it J2EE. J2EE container. Okay. Yeah. So let us see how they will behave. Let us see how they will behave. Generally, why we need to create objects? Let's say you are building a application, maybe for your city. You people are living in various cities, right? Few are in Ahmedabad, few are in Hyderabad, few are in Tirupati. You are from so many locations, Pune. Let's say if you want to build a application, online food delivery system, online food delivery, all right, something like Swiggy or Zomato. You are building this application, okay? So if you use application context or bean factory, how it shows the difference for this application. See, bean factory is a lazy container, right? How it will behave, we will understand here through this Swiggy application. So in this Swiggy application, first for this application, how many users are required? Hotel management required to add their products. Okay, so the hotel manager, he will add, or hotel persons. Hotel manager will add his menu. He will add the menu. So the customer will access that menu. Hotel manager, if he add the menu, customer will access it. Customer will access that menu and he will order the food. So for this hotel manager and for customer, who need to write all the classes and views? We only need to do that. So to add products or to add menu, right? Add menu. One view we need to create. One HTML page. In simple words. Add menu, one HTML page you need to create here. So from that menu page, he will add the food name, cost, the remaining ingredient details he will add here. So once he submit it, backend side your code need to execute it. So backend implementation you do here. As I said, multiple classes you implement. Controllers, services, DAO classes. Consider all these are Java classes. And after adding food product, email notifications, such if you want to send, generally we send, right? Even for customer also, once he order is success, we send email and we send messages also. Let's say here you have 4+ classes, 4 classes you have, backend classes for this hotel manager. 1, 2, 3, 4 classes we have, right? Total 4 classes we have. So using these 4 classes, this hotel manager can able to add his menu here. So the menu permanently will stored into database. In this database table, we store that menu, this data. Now for customer wants to order the product. So for customer, we have a view page here. Customer view we have. So customer will access this view and he will search for the product. Right? Morning breakfast, if you want, he will search for the breakfast. He will enter so and so food name and search for it. If that is available, he will order for it. So we'll show all the items here. Like this, we'll show all the items. So he will pick his required food and he will order for it. He will order here. He will click on order and he will do the payment, blah, blah, blah. So he will call them. So when he call them, right, again, his side code also will execute. Yeah. So here, for him also, we will implement few classes. Let's say for him also we have 4 classes. All these are part of your application only, okay? One single application. Maybe you may connect with same database or different databases. Consider for now only one database you have. Hotel manager adding products here. And as a customer, you are searching the same products and you are ordering for it. So all the products table, orders table, transactions table, everything we have in this database. So now for this application, if I use Bean Factory as a container here, Bean Factory is a container, right? Who will create objects for your classes? If it is a Bean Factory, container, okay, Swiggy deployed this application. Somebody implemented it here today only the first day for Swiggy. Let's say Arun completed this implementation. He developed this code, Swiggy code, and he deployed into a server. So this many pages and classes we have in server. Now Swiggy went to a hotel like Paradise, they went and they asked to hotel people to please add your products to database. Swiggy asked to hotel manager, my application is ready, you people can start using it. Then hotel manager is calling for this add menu page to add his product. And when he clicks submit button here, he is adding biryani or idli or dosa. He's submitting the button. And as a backend, we are using Bean Factory, right? So when he submit his button, what will happen? Immediately menu will not be created. Some time it will take. Your Bean Factory will invoke. When first time this hotel manager calls it. So let's say first time hotel manager, let's say he is from Paradise. From Paradise, he is invoking it. So first time when this Paradise person invoke to add a product, it will take a lot of time to him. Consider to create each object, if it is taking 1 minute, 4 minutes of time it will take to complete or to accomplish his request to add biryani. And from the next request onwards, it will complete in next 3 seconds. While adding first product, it will take this much time. From the next request onwards, from second product onwards, it will not take much time. It will complete in next 3 seconds or 2 seconds. So during first request, it is taking time because when you use Bean Factory, it is a lazy container. It is a lazy container. On first request only, it will create objects for your classes. If you see this point 3, on first request only, right? On first request only. Right? On first request only. On first request of user, it will create objects of your classes. Right? So until user's first request, it will not create any object. So here Paradise person, Paradise hotel manager, when he tried to add his product, right? When this guy tried to add his product, this hotel manager, when he tried to add first product, biryani or something, after entering all his details here, when he submit it, then it will start creating objects for your first class, second class, third class, and fourth class for all these classes. If you have 10 classes or 100 classes, it don't mind. All that classes instantiation, object creation will start at first time. So definitely during first request, he may face difficulties. He need to wait a lot of time. Similarly, customer also, when customer came, he's so hungry, he is trying to adding biryani. He added biryani and he submitted it. He waited for 1 minute, 2 minutes, and he don't see any response. Then what he will do? He will quit this application. He will uninstall this application and he will directly go to hotel and eat whatever he want. So even for customer also, when he try to add a product and when he order for it, for customer, if you have 4 different classes, to instantiate this classes also, again, it will take time for the first customer. Right? First customer, not a lucky customer if you go with Bean Factory. Right? He need to wait a lot of time to create these objects. So Bean Factory is not at all recommended. If you go with the Bean Factory, definitely customers will suffer. Definitely customers will suffer. During development time, you write the code and you deploy it, everything is perfect. But when real people will try to invoke the application, right, it will take a lot of time to instantiate your classes. So instead of Bean Factory, if I go with application context here, if I go with application context here, application context is another container, J2EE container. If you go with application context, after coding, when you are deploying your application into the production, as a developer, you need to deploy this application, right, in somewhere server before reaching out to hotel people or customer people. During your deployment only, it will create all these objects. Application context will create objects for your 4 classes and customer classes. All these objects it will create. During deployment time only, it will not wait for the user request. While deployment time only, it will create all the objects. So user need not to wait. Even it is a first time customer or first time product you are adding, it will complete in 3 seconds only. This user need not to wait for a long time. Even for the first customer also, when he try to add product and order it, immediately his order will complete because all objects are already created. And the one more thing is, as if here application context or Bean Factory will create only 4 objects. For this hotel manager, it is adding 4 objects, and for customers also it is having 4 objects. Though millions of customers request for the ordering the food, or thousands of hotel managers also, if they try to add menu into the database, it will not create multiple objects. Only 4 objects for thousands of hotels. Thousands of hotels can invoke these applications. Thousands of hotels. But it will create only 4 objects only. First time it will create 4 objects, right? 4 objects only sufficient. Here, millions of, thousands and millions of customers. Let them invoke. Daily, we used to order, 3-4 times, milk and all. So thousands of or millions of orders application will get every day. Still, will it create multiple objects? No, only 4 objects. Only 8 objects will exist in your JVM. That objects are sufficient. So it will not even take a lot of memory in your JVM because all these objects are singletons. Your objects are singletons, so that it will not create multiple objects. Only 4 objects it will create. Here 4 and here 4. So your application will put only less weight on JVM so that your application execution will be faster. So a singleton object is enough for any application? Yes, that we will talk it in a different session. But objects will be created only singleton in application context or bean factory. Only singleton objects, which means only one object. Generally, when you go with static approach by using new keyword, if you create, right, every time for every request, it will create objects. Let's say you are not using a good framework, you are writing code yourself by using new keyword. What will happen? When you use new keyword here to create these objects, at first time user request, 4 objects create. For next time, 4 objects. Again, 4 objects. Again and again, it will take 4 minutes of time. Just an example. So it will take a lot of time and it will create multiple objects also. 1000 hotel users, if they call 1000 into 4, 4000 objects. Like 1 million customers, if they request 1 million into 4, 4 million objects it will create. Instead of creating 8 objects, it will create 4 millions plus. 4 million plus objects it will create. This is a bad idea, right? Creating this many objects in your JVM definitely will crash. Your application will go down. So instead of creating this many millions of objects, if you follow singleton pattern, it will create only the number of classes you have, right? That many objects only it will create. Equal number of objects to your classes. For 10 classes, 10 objects. For 20 classes, 20 objects. They are sufficient. So that your application also will be faster. Correct, right? Even if you download an application in your mobile, if your mobile applications also, if they follow the singleton pattern and design, that applications will run so faster. Right? In Android also they've used Java code. Instead of using singleton pattern, if they follow prototype pattern, means for every request one new object. Let's say if you're playing a game, in that game, for every case, if you are creating an object for every request, game will go or it will slow down, and later sometime it will occupy complete RAM of your phone and it will stop working. It will struck, screen, everything will be frozen. You need to restart your application. If they follow singleton pattern, it will create very less number of objects, so it will not consume lot of memory, so that your application will run so faster. Similar way, wherever you deploy your application, it should consume less memory so that application performance is good. Okay, we see applications about this application context and bean factory in tomorrow's session. Okay, so these are the containers who helps you to run your classes. We do detailed discussion of them. Okay, but you must get the idea, right? What is the container? Why we need these containers? Okay, we'll do a very detailed discussion how to create application with these containers. Okay, any doubts so far?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sir, when you say that the singleton pattern creates only one class for all the requests, let us say like 2 hotel managers are trying to add a menu at the same time. What will happen to the instance variables, sir, of the class?
Instance variables will be overrides. That's why, right? In coding practice, generally in multi-user application, we should not put common access to all the users. That is a practice that we need to follow. If you put it, then let's say 10 people are adding products. They are vegetarian hotels. They are adding their veg products. A non-vegetarian hotel person came at the same time and he added his biryani. So it will override all that idli, dosa, everything, and for everybody it will create biryani only. So we should be very careful with instance variables in multi-user applications. If it is a single user application, standalone application which is running in your machine, okay, you can use instance variables. In web applications, we should not use instance variables which are access to the user. So if you don't put any common instance variables, will there be any issue for you? No, right?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, instance level variables we should not put. That too, those are user variables, right? User variables we should not put in instance level. That is a bad practice. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. But good question, right? For this, we need to have a discussion. Right? Many will confuse, right? Maybe they will assume that, okay, let me put the instance level variables, what will happen? That we should not do. Maybe we'll do that discussion also. Okay. For multi-user applications, we should not put. Yeah. And for data, we need not to bother, right? So generally we are deploying it in Tomcat. The data will come via Tomcat only to us. The data will bring it to us via Tomcat only. When somebody submits, right, Tomcat will read. Tomcat will follow singleton multi-thread pattern internally. For each user, it will create a separate thread to hold the data. So your data also safe in a thread. So Tomcat can take care up to this part. From here, we need to take care. So as you need to take care, you should be very careful with your instance variables. Generally, not even a single variable you should not put in instance level, which is common to the users. Or you can say user variables. Application variables you can have. During your application coding, you may need different set of properties. Here DAO may need to connect with database. You may need driver name, URL, username, passwords as instance level variables. Okay, let's put it. Those are developer variables. As a developer, you code whatever variables you require. But user variables we should not put. Okay. Yeah. Any more questions? Yes, Gopal. Sorry, your voice is low, Gopal. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So if no questions, we'll close it for today. Tomorrow we'll do the detailed discussion of containers. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Chiru.
I mean, they will share these recordings also, right, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not now. Up to tomorrow's session will be available in YouTube itself in a public library. But from
Okay.
Monday onwards, right, the recordings will be shared via Google Drive only. They will not
Okay,
put in
sir.
YouTube. Only for you directly, they will send to your email ID.
Okay, sir. Nice.
Yeah. That's all, everyone. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Bye all.
Bye.
Thank you, Naveen. Bye.
Yeah.